Hello everyone, and welcome to this edition of our FTT Chat series, where we get the opportunity to sit down with innovation leaders from across the financial services sector and beyond to talk about trends, innovation, and all the things that they're finding interesting. So today, I'm delighted to be joined by Nikhil Batheja. Hope I got that right.
Batheja.
Batheja. Nick is head of API architecture and strategy, corporate and investment bank at JP Morgan. So we're delighted to have him here with us in London, visiting from New York.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Lisa. Great to be here. I am in London for 2.5 weeks, so no better time to drop by.
Absolutely. Well, lucky us. So could you start off by telling us a little bit more about you and your role at JP Morgan?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in financial services now for, what's probably going on 20 years, maybe 15 plus years. I stopped counting at 15. So I've been one of those individuals that have been lucky enough to have a very traversed type of career path, right? So I started off in the traditional banking space, trading, and then moving into markets and an investment banking type of role, and then had an opportunity actually to move to London and work on a whole bunch of interesting strategy projects. At this time I was with Citi. And from those strategy projects, I, have been able to kind of deep dive into this sort of innovation wave that's happened after 2008, after the financial crisis, with a lot of these fintechs and different, new frameworks coming to market. You think about cryptocurrency, you think about blockchain. There was a lot of work done around that in the early days. I leveraged that to go back to New York and work with Citi Ventures, which was the venture hub for Citi, so the innovation hub for Citi. They were investing, they were also incubating new projects. In 2019, I had a great opportunity to join JP Morgan Chase. So I led strategic partnerships and investments for the commercial bank, which is a space between the corporate bank and the consumer bank. That handled, companies anywhere from 20 million upwards to $1 billion of revenue. So a lot of different needs that I saw in that space. And then one day I took all that knowledge and said, wow, there's a great opportunity, especially on the API side, to really reframe how banks have been putting out services. Met a great person that ended up becoming the head of engineering and architecture. He said, tell me about APIs, tell me about our clients. Why do our clients not, embrace our APIs like they do a Marqeta or a Stripe? And we went through a list of 15 to 20 things in a 2-hour conversation, and then was offered the role, which I'm very happy to have taken, because it's a huge opportunity, which we're going to get into at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your experience is super interesting. You've really kind of moved along those waves of innovation and having that strategic view. You're perfectly placed to answer my next question. So embedded finance is clearly having a moment. It's talked about in so many different aspects and settings, whether we're talking about obviously non-financial companies, financial companies, fintechs, collaborating to provide financial products and services. Tell us a little bit about why now? Why is embedded finance, taking center stage in so many conversations?
Yeah, I think there's a couple lenses that you can look at this from. I think number one, if you look at it from an international lens, or even just a Europe-UK lens, obviously open banking, PSD2 was kind of the nudge that everyone needed, that banks needed to really do it. I think it's been a little bit slower on the continent to take hold, just because of delays with bank technology and whatnot. I know the UK has embraced it completely. The UK open banking standards have been published and all that stuff. So I mean, you can just kind of see this wave happening here. In the US, there's a little bit more of a path dependency, right? So I'll focus a little bit more on the US, right? And then we can chat about the different geographies. But in the US, it's been, a little bit more path dependent. If you think about it from, 3 different phases: consumer, middle market, and then corporate banking. If you look at the consumer phase, it's definitely a trend, right? Anyone that's used Apple Pay to make a payment with their mobile wallet just understands the embedded finance potential in an operating system, how that's taken off. It's an experience unlike any other, right? But when you talk about certain products and features at the consumer level, like BNPL, specifically in the US, it's been a little bit slower, right? And that's because in the US, as you well know, we're addicted to credit card rewards, right? So for instance, my son is a huge Tottenham fan. He's, loves Harry Kane. In February, I'm going to take him to his first match in London. So we're going to fly over for a weekend, take him to his first match in London. The way that I'm paying for that is through points, credit card points that I've transferred to my Virgin flight account to be able to do that, right? So how you disintermediate that from like a BNPL perspective is going to be very difficult in the US. And you've actually seen like Amex and, my employer and, Visa and MasterCard really try to like wedge their way into the embedded banking space to kind of, address what this wave of BNPL has seen. I think, payments is definitely, if you look at it, that's been embedded into, where are consumers' eyeballs, right? You've now got payment capabilities, not only in the operating systems, but, in Facebook and Instagram. And if you look at those shopping experiences now as well, it's really gravitated to where consumers' eyeballs are, right? So there's huge opportunity there, and that continues to grow.
Yeah, so you touched a little bit, obviously, on the importance of open banking, APIs. Talk to me a little bit about the tools and technology trends that are really pushing embedded finance.
Some of those tools and technologies, obviously APIs, which I'm near and dear to, cloud technology as well, right? Being able to scale up and scale down different environments, which is something that, the cloud and all the cloud providers have really, kind of perfected. But if I just look at my space, right, being able to deliver seamless APIs, being able to deliver, embedded finance tools, a lot of those tools and technologies are open source. The way that we design our APIs are really open source tools, right? So from linting the API to making sure it's, structurally consistent across, the different services that you're putting out to your clients, right? That's a huge part of how things get adopted, right? The experience being uniform like that as well. Authentication is another huge piece of it. Anyone that's onboarded to a bank API can probably, can fill you up in the pub and tell you, for 30 minutes about how painful it is. Yeah. I've heard it from our clients, right? But there are tools and technologies now to authenticate users, right? If you think about some of the big providers out there like Okta and ForgeRock, right? Authentication, being able to authenticate users, being able to authorize them, being able to onboard them to your API, especially with bank level security. These are the tools and technologies that are really making a difference when it comes to being able to seamlessly embed finance, finance products at speed and scale, which a lot of these corporates want to do, right?
That's absolutely fascinating, and really understanding how it requires that end-to-end digital experience. So if you fall down on the kind of onboarding and authentication piece, yes, it's not a seamless experience.
It's not, and it's a headache, right? Because a lot of the legacy technology that's been used for that has been internal to banks, right? So banks use the same one maybe for portals and for different channels, right, that they use for APIs. But the API experience is completely different, right? It's a more modern experience, right? If you think about Stripe's business model, Stripe, you get into Stripe and you can start sending payments within 20 minutes or accepting payments within 20 minutes, right? That's a different bar that's been set within the market that we're now trying to reach, right? So banks, we fully embrace the fast follower approach, which I think is fine, right? But then we have to be able to deliver that same experience or a similar experience, right? So being able to test those APIs, being able to provide sandboxes so that anyone can go and play with your APIs and understand, how something works. And, JP Morgan itself, we do a lot of things in a lot of countries, right? we offer payments, we offer, different services across the globe, right? So being able to, if you're a startup in San Francisco, or if you're a mid-market business in London, being able to tap into those capabilities and understand how they would work vis-a-vis their own application that they're building and doing it at speed and scale. That's huge, right?
Yeah.
That's the experience that people are paying for now. It's less so, kind of the old, all right, we'll get back to you in 3 or 4 days. And that's something that, we are constantly looking at and kicking the tires on, trying to refine that, trying to make it better every single day. And we have a great team working to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it is a game changer. So let's pick up on that kind of kicking the tires piece and some of the issues around legacy technology. Thinking about those challenges and this need to provide a seamless experience, what is the role that collaboration, partnership plays for an institution like JP Morgan in delivering those kind of outcomes?
So we're definitely all in on partnerships. Again, talking about it from the corporate perspective, I think there's a lot of potential. I talked about where are our clients' eyeballs, consumer eyeballs, corporate client eyeballs, right? Where are they spending most of their time, most of their day in? Where are their frustration levels very high? How can we make that better from a financial product perspective, right? So I talked about ERP and treasury management systems, TMSs, right? We're developing a lot of partnerships along those lines as well, because that's where our clients spend most of their day. If you think about some of the big platforms out there that are building, their own payment services, right? A lot of the big tech companies, right? Being able to partner with them and actually look at how they're using things and being able to develop and spin up solutions through partnerships. So if you think about a payment product that a tech company is offering for individual people, or individual consumers, right? Where are the subledgering capabilities? Who's offering those? How can we maybe partner with some of the fintechs out there to deliver that as well? And then I talked about open source and the cloud providers. We have very good relationships with all 3 of the big public cloud providers, right? Obviously, we know who that is, right? And then a lot of the open source technologies. I talked about API design, right? We're looking at more and more at those open source technologies because we're able to spin up things so quickly and so fast, right? Of course, if you look at some of the fintechs out there that have really perfected the client experience, we constantly want to learn from them, especially when it comes to onboarding clients. How are they doing it? How are they able to look at it from a security perspective? These are very important things that we're looking to obviously partner with, but also learn from as well. Support, right? Support's another big thing out there. So once you deliver an API, it doesn't just stop, right? You get questions on it. You get questions on your documentation, right? So one of the big things that we're trying to do at JP Morgan is how do you deliver that experience, that support experience in a more seamless fashion, maybe through chat. Right. And so obviously there's, different chat providers out there that you can engage your clients directly and do it pretty quickly to answer their questions. So all across the lifeline, or all across the life cycle, there are partnership opportunities, there are engagement opportunities, these that we're exploring. But it really boils down to the experience that we want to drive for our clients and then working backwards from there.
Thank you so much, Nick. You've really knitted together so many different strands to really give us a sense of why embedded finance can be so impactful, why now, all the different partners and technology trends that are coming together to really make this a reality in essence. So I love also this concept of going to where the end user's eyeballs are.
Yeah.
So with that, I'd like to say I hope all eyeballs will be in San Francisco for FTT Embedded Finance in North America on the 1st of December. You'll be joining us as a speaker, and I look forward to learning more about all of these different trends in embedded finance. So thank you again for taking the time to join us today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Looking forward to San Francisco. Great to be in London with you guys, and thank you for hosting, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Brilliant. Thanks again.
Thanks, Lisa.
And thanks to everyone watching for this latest edition of our FTT Chat series.